Here's how you're going to get started creating your stitch practice card. Here's my example. You're going to show me that you understand how to create the whip stitch, which is the one that wraps around the edge, and then the running stitch, which goes in a line, kind of like a dotted line around. You're going to do the whip stitch on two sides of the card and the running stitch on the other two sides, okay? And your name's going to go in the middle. In the box at your table, you have examples of the running stitch and the whip stitch, so you can look at it to see. You've got foam cards, you pick whatever color you want, and you've also got some yarn and a needle threader, and then you get the regular sewing needle you need to get from me before you begin. All right, so here's how you're going to get started. You have your foam card, you need some yarn. How you know how much yarn you're going to need is you're going to get what I call a wingspan. So you're going to start at the end of the yarn and you're going to pull it all the way until you reach about the length of both your arms stretched out, and then you're going to cut off a piece of the yarn, put everything back in the box that you're not using. You probably won't need the needle threader for these needles, but they're there just in case, and there's a video to show you how to use it. So we're going to move this out of the way. You're going to go ahead and write your name in the middle of the card. All right. And now you have your yarn and your needle. All right, so let's get sewing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to feed the thread through the eye of the needle. The eye is the opening, okay? Sometimes you have to twist the yarn a little bit because it gets frayed, and you're just going to stick it through. You're going to pull it through a little bit so it has a tail. It looks doubled up. Do not knot anything up here, okay? No knots. All right, sometimes students like to do that so that this doesn't pull out, but that's going to create a problem for you later when you're sewing. Now I'm going to go all the way to the other end of my thread, and I'm going to make a knot. So how you make a knot is you just loop it, okay, and then stick the tail through the loop and pull. And now there's a little knot at the end. And if you want to double it up just to be sure it's not going to pull through your fabric or your foam, that's a good idea. Like, I think doing that twice is that's a pretty good knot right there. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew. And I know that I want to do the running stitch and then the whip stitch. So I'm going to do the running stitch first. So you always poke through with the needle, you poke through from the back. Okay, you're going to poke through from the back because you want your knot, you don't want your knot to show. Okay, if this is the front of my design or the front of my creature, I want my knot to be in the back. I don't want it to show. So I'm going to put the needle through. This is important, okay? Once the needle starts to come through, I'm going to grip it with my hand so that the thread doesn't pull out of the needle while I'm pulling. And I'm going to pull, 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 pull until I feel that knot connect with the back, okay? I've pulled it all the way. Now I don't want to pull too hard because then it'll pull right through, okay? So now I'm going to do the running stitch, okay? This is the running stitch. It looks like a dotted line. I want you to focus on trying to space your stitches apart equally and try to make them as straight as you can. You can see it was even a little tricky for me to do it, but just try to do the best you can. So whatever width you want to make your stitch, you're going to poke the needle through the front. I'm going to grip it and pull until it's super tight, okay? I do not want to move on to the next stitch until I know that this has been pulled through and it's tight on both ends and I've pulled it all the way through. Now, I'm going to poke through the back. I'm going to do it the opposite way. Notice how I'm pushing my needle through the foam, lined up with these holes and about the same width as the last stitch. I'm going to be careful so I don't poke the needle into my thumb. I'm going to start pulling it through. I'm going to grip, and then I'm going to pull all the way through, okay? So I already see I have these tight stitches. I'm going to keep doing this until I go all the way around on both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to stop there because I don't really have any more space to do another stitch, and I'm going to move on to the whip stitch. The whip stitch is going to wrap around. I'm going to fill up these last two sides with the whip stitch. So how I'm going to start is I already have the thread going through the back side, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and bring it through again, gripping, pulling all the way through, checking that it was pulled through tight, and now I'm going to start to create this whip stitch where it wraps around. So watch what I'm going to do. So this time instead, the thread is coming through the back side, okay? The needle is going to keep being poked through the back side, okay? You're only poking the needle through the back side. Now, sometimes when I get to this part, it's gonna wanna decide where it goes. You decide where it goes. So before I tighten it, do I want the whip stitch to start here or do I want it to be here? I want it to be here because I'm doing this side and this side. So now that I've positioned that yarn there, I'm gonna pull it tight again and now it's in the right spot. So I'm gonna keep focusing on making my stitches be equal distance apart as I go around, okay? So I've got this far of a distance. So I'm gonna poke my needle through the back again, grip, and pull through, okay? And now I can see that it's gonna start wrapping around and be equal stitch length. So I'm gonna continue doing this. For the whip stitch, you are just poking the needle through the foam from the back side. This is gonna be the stitch we use to sew the front and the back piece of your creature together. All right, and I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep creating this whip stitch all the way around this side and the next side. All right, final step is going to be to knot this end too, because you don't want to do all this work and then it just unravels and comes out, okay? So how I'm going to knot it is I really want the knot to be back here, okay? I don't want it to be on the front side and showing. So what I'm going to do is poke it through one more time, and then I'm going to bring the needle through this loop. So it's kind of like, it's going to create like a little knot. All right, like that, okay? And then what I can do is I can take my needle out, all right? I have a lot of extra yarn. That's okay. It's better to have extra than not enough, okay? And then I'm going to make a loop and pull this through, all right? So there's my little loop. You can see it's like I started to make a knot. And then if you just put your finger on it and pull on the yarn, having your finger on it will keep the knot close to the fabric or the foam instead of making it go all the way over here, okay? And it'll make it a tighter knot, okay? And then that's it. And then the last step is to just cut off that last little tail. Don't cut the knot. And then you are all done. And then you're just gonna take a picture of this and submit it in the part of the assignment that says to stitch, practice, submit.